Hello, I'm Jen. Welcome back to my channel, Literary Love 123, where I like to drink a coffee, talk about books, and use my masters in English to discuss the horror genre and other genres as well from an academic standpoint. But I like to have fun too, just talking about books. And today's video is one of those fun videos. It is a first for my channel, and it is a book haul. So, after a quick intro, I will be back to share with you all of the books that I have gotten recently. So, these books either came from my birthday, which was in April. Some of them came as a result of Mother's Day gifts, and some are because I like to buy books to cope with life. Um, for me, book buying is a mental health boost, it's a form of therapy. So, with all that out of the way, let's talk about the books that I have gotten over the past couple of months. I'm starting with two books by the same author, and that author is Laurel Hightower. Previously, I read her novella Crossroads, and I absolutely loved that one. If you like Pet Cemetery kind of stories, then Crossroads is a really good book recommendation for you. But we're not here to talk about the one I already read. We're here to talk about two that I have not read yet. So one of them is a new release, and that is Day of the Door. And the other one is a previously published book that I haven't gotten to yet, and I've wanted to, and that is Below. So let's talk about what both of these books are about. So I'm going to start with Day of the Door since that is the new release. And this is what the synopsis for Day of the Door by Laurel Hightower states. Once there were four Lasco siblings banded together against a world that failed to protect them. But on a hellish night that marked the end of their childhood, eldest brother Sean died violently after being dragged behind closed doors. Though the official finding was accidental death, Nathan Lasco knows better and has never forgiven their mother, Stella. Now, 2 decades later, Stella promises to finally reveal the truth of what happened on the Day of the Door. Accompanied by paranormal investigative team, the Lasco family comes together one final time, but no one is prepared for the revelations waiting for them on the third floor. That sounds really good and family trauma. So, yay. The other book that I have by Laurel Hightower is a novella. I love this cover so much. And this is called Below. And here's the synopsis. While driving through the mountains of West Virginia during a late night snowstorm, a recently divorced woman experiences bizarre electrical problems, leaving her with little choice but to place her trust with a charismatic truck driver. But when an unexplainable creature with haunting red eyes gets between them, she is forced to make one of the toughest decisions of her life. Will she abandon the stranger who kept her safe, or will she climb down below where reality has shapeshifted into a living nightmare? So I'm excited for both of those. Coffee time. So the next book I want to talk about is a book from Valancourt Books, and they often do reprints of classics or older stories. And I find that a lot of times these are books that I've never heard of before, and that is the case with this one. And this is called The Vampire of Vorla, and I hope I'm saying that right. It says there's there are also other Greek vampire tales, 1819 to 1846, and it is edited with an introduction by Alvaro Garcia Marin. And I'm a big vampire girly, so I'm excited for any kind of vampire content. And I like going further back into vampire lore. And when I was in grad school, I was taking a romanticism course, and I decided that I wanted to see what the romantics were saying about vampires. I knew what the Victorians were saying with Dracula, of course, and then even before Dracula, Carmilla, but I wanted to find out what the romantics were saying about vampires. And as I was researching for my paper about romanticism and vampires, I found discussions of not only Eastern European ideas of vampires, but also Greek. So I'm always excited to see, what some of the oldest ideas about vampires are. So let me just get to the synopsis now. Vampires are usually associated in the popular imagination with Transylvania and other European locales. But in this new anthology, editor Alvaro Garcia Marin has uncovered the earliest appearance of vampires in English literature, revealing their surprising origin in Greece. This volume includes two seminal classic texts, Lord Byron's Fragment of a Novel and John William Polidori's The Vampire, which I have both of those already. But here's the kicker. Also included are 5 other rare and never before reprinted vampire tales from the early 19th century, including the important and inexplicably neglected The Vampire of Vorla. Also featured is a scholarly introduction. Yay! A scholarly introduction by Professor Marin, delving into this forgotten field of vampire literary history and situating it within the larger Romantic era and 19th century English attitudes toward Greece. Yay! I think this one is just gotten really bumped up in priority for me for June reading right there. Okay, sip of coffee time again. And so the next book I have is a classic, and I have seen the original movie as well as the adaptation with Ryan Reynolds. And I've seen some of the sequels too. Not all of them, because there are a ridiculous amount of movies in the franchise. And if you haven't guessed what I'm talking about yet, let me just go ahead and show you. The Amityville Horror, written by Jay Anson. So you're probably familiar with what the Amityville Horror is, but let me see if I can find the synopsis in this old book here. That's a preface. There may not be a synopsis. Okay, well, I'm not going to spend a lot of time because this video may go a little long anyway, but the Amityville Horror, you probably know the story. So let's just move right on after another sip of coffee. I apologize if you don't like to see me drinking coffee, but it's my channel and I drink coffee. So there we go. And it is morning time here where I am. It's about 7:30 in the morning. So if I'm going to function, I got to have some coffee. All right, back to book talk here. So this was a book I actually received from a book fairy, and this is The Devil and Mrs. Davenport by Paulette Kennedy. And I received it from a fellow bookstagrammer. She goes by the handle Nikki Booknook, so I want to give her a shout out. I'm not sure if she does BookTube, but like I said, she's on Bookstagram, and she sent me this book. So let me read this synopsis for The Devil and Mrs. Davenport. The first day of autumn brought the fever, and with the fever came the voices. Missouri, 1955. Loretta Davenport has led an isolated life as a young mother and a wife to Pete, an ambitious assistant professor at a Bible college. They're the picture of domestic tranquility, until a local girl is murdered and Loretta begins receiving messages from beyond. Pete dismisses them as delusions of a fevered female imagination. I don't like Pete. Loretta knows they're real and frightening. Defying Pete's demands, yes, you go, girl. Loretta finds an encouraging supporter in parapsychologist Dr. Curtis Hanson. He sees a woman with a rare gift, more blessing than curse. With Dr. Hanson's help, Loretta's life opens up to an empowering new purpose. But for Pete, the God fearing image he's worked so hard to cultivate is under threat. No longer in control of his dutiful wife, he sees the devil at work. All right, Pete. As Loretta's powers grow stronger and the pleading spirits beckon, Pete is determined to deliver his wife from evil. To solve the mysteries of the dead, Loretta must first save herself. Okay, this sounds really good. It sounds like one that I would like to pick up in the fall since it's set like in the first day of autumn. It sounds like it would be a nice kind of spooky season read. So I'm excited about that. And thank you again to Nikki Booknook for that book. Coffee time again. All right. So the next book is a gift from my best friend. She gave me this book for my birthday. She'd been trying to get me to read this book, and I was just kind of like, I don't know. It's not really my genre. It's not really my forte. But, she gave it to me for my birthday. A really wonderful gift, but it feels like there could have been an ulterior motive there too. But I am going to be reading it as part of a vlog that I'm doing in June, and that is Butcher and Blackbird by Bryn Weaver. So let me read the synopsis of this book to you. All right. When a chance encounter sparks an unlikely bond between rival murderers Sloane and Rowan, they find something elusive. The friendship of two like minded, pitch black souls who just happen to enjoy killing other serial killers. From small town West Virginia to upscale California, and from downtown Boston to rural Texas, the two hunters collide in an annual game of blood and suffering, one that pits them against the most dangerous monsters in the country. But as their friendship develops into something more, the restless ghosts left in their wake are only a few steps behind, ready to claim more than just their newfound love. So we'll see about that. I'm doing it. It's in a vlog. It's going to happen. And I love my best friend dearly, right? Obviously. So the next book again, also not in my kind of wheelhouse at all. And this is from Book of the Month. And full disclosure, I recently canceled my Book of the Month subscription because most of the time the books that were offered were not books that I was really interested in. But before I canceled my subscription, I got this book to also be part of the vlog in which I'll be reading Butcher and Blackbird. And the book is Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez. It's a romance. So let me read you the synopsis of this book. All right. This is such a big book that I'm going to be reading for romance purposes here. Okay. 4 dates, a kiss, and a breakup. That's all it will take to find their soulmate. When it comes to love, Emma is cursed. Every guy she dates finds his true love after they break up. But it turns out she's not the only one afflicted with this condition. His name is Justin, and his Reddit thread about being love's good luck charm has gone viral. Now the two have come up with an ingenious plan. If they date each other, their curses will cancel out and they'll go on to find their soulmate. Only Justin wasn't supposed to be so unbelievably cute. and hilarious. But when Emma's toxic mother shows up and Justin has to assume guardianship of his three siblings, they're suddenly navigating a lot more than they expected, including catching real feelings. Has fate finally brought the perfect pair together, or will their cure be way more hazardous than the curse itself? So, chunky book here, just for the summer. That's what I'm going to tell myself with some of these romance books, just for the summer. Okay, moving on, completely switching gears here. This is a book that I won in a giveaway. And this is Misty Pratt's All in Her Head: How Gender Bias Harms Women's Mental Health. And let me see if I can get a description of this book. Oh, I didn't even notice that I had a nice little note in here from the person who I won the giveaway from. Okay, that's nice. I had to read that. Okay, so here's the description of All in Her Head. Over the last decades, mental health problems have skyrocketed among women who are twice as likely as men to be diagnosed with a mood disorder. Yet, in a society steeped in bias, women's complaints are often dismissed, their normal emotions are medicalized, and treatments fail to address root causes. Women living at the crossroads of racial and other identities face additional barriers. What's going wrong with women's mental health and what needs to change? In All in Her Head, author Misty Pratt embarks on a crucial investigation, painting a picture of a system failing women on multiple levels. Pratt explores the stereotypes that shape how we understand women's distress, from the ancient Greek concept of hysteria to today's self-help solutions. Weaving together science and personal stories, she challenges misconceptions, addressing questions like, when did emotions become symptoms of a disorder? How did burnout become a female disease? And what can we do to make peace with our moods? Today, a rising movement is demanding better when it comes to mental health treatment. Armed with the latest science, personal insight, and enough humor to lighten the load, All in Her Head provides women with hope and courage to reframe and reclaim their mental health. So, this one is one that's of a very personal interest to me because of my own diagnosis with major depressive disorder. So, I am looking forward to reading that and then letting you all know what I think. Coffee time. Okay, so the next book I have is a new release from a fellow booktuber, and I will link his channel down in the description box below. And this book is Oedipus Complex by Michael Wertenberg. So let me give you the synopsis for Oedipus Complex. Kareem has his tenuous hold on reality further jeopardized when he develops an obsessive, erotic relationship with a residential building set for demolition. Meet Kareem. Shh, not so loud, please. Now imagine Paris, France. No, not that Paris. The Paris Kareem lives in. Traffic, crowded sidewalks, and noisy cafes. And where finding a flat is a nightmare, especially for an Arab with a criminal past and psychiatric issues. See the glass booth where he works as a ticket vendor in the Montparnasse, I don't even know how to say this, sorry, train station. The booth has been a friend to him ever since that first day when he and his father got lost in the bustling crowd of commuters. It saved him from the onslaught of noise then as a child, and it allows him and the voices in his head a slight reprieve as an adult. Unfortunately, his flat offers him no such reprieve from the noise. The neighbor's TV, telephone, conversations on the upper balconies, footsteps in the stairwell. Sami, Kareem's fraternal twin, gets a promotion, moves to London, and against his better judgment, leaves Kareem his flat. Kareem feels alive, emancipated from his overbearing twin for the first time in his life. He and his building, as their relationship intensifies, so do the structural and corporal pleasures they give each other. Kareem is an attentive lover, as is the building, and the two are happy together. If only the neighbors wouldn't make so much noise. However, a new modern monstrosity is erected next door, and rumors spread that Kareem's building will be torn down to allow for a high occupancy building, identical to the neighboring one, to be erected in its place. One by one, the neighbors are brutally killed, or the more fortunate have their leases bought out and they move. Less fortunate is the building, which suffers structural damage that only accelerates the owner's plans to demolish and rebuild. Kareem must take drastic measures to stave off the impending demolition, while Sami, as promised, returns to Paris to check up on his brother. What he discovers is disturbing. Has he arrived too late? Crowds had gathered. Oh, this is a quote. Crowds had gathered to see a demolition, to see the dust and the dirt paint the Paris sky, and to hear the roar of destruction. And though the wrecking ball was never deployed, the gatherers witnessed the building fall. They saw the sky turn black with its debris and felt their bones shake as the boom of its dying breath blew by. It's a tragic love story. Don't be scared. Just try not to make too much noise as you turn the pages. This sounds just so unique and something that's like completely different from anything that I have read before. And I'm really looking forward to reading Oedipus Complex. Next up is a Frankenstein inspired novel. And if you've followed my channel, you know that I'm always ready for any kind of content related to Frankenstein. I've seen this book in several places, but what finally pushed me over to go ahead and purchase it is the review that Willow did on Willow Talks Books. And I will link that review down in the description box below. And the book I am talking about is A Botanical Daughter by Noah Medlock. So let me give you the synopsis for A Botanical Daughter. And just a minute, let me just let you look at how beautiful this cover is. It is stunning. And let me turn it like this too. Look at the spine. It's just so pretty. Okay, here's the synopsis. It is an unusual thing to live in a botanical garden, but Simon and Gregor are an unusual pair of gentlemen. Hidden away from the disapproving tattle of Victorian London, they are free to follow their own interests without interference. For Simon, this means working his taxidermical art. Gregor's business is exotic plants, lucrative, but harmless enough until his latest acquisition, a strange fungus which shows signs of intellect beyond any plant he's seen, inspires him to attempt a masterwork, true intelligent life from plant matter. Driven by the glory he'll earn from the Royal Horticultural Society for such an achievement, Gregor ignores the flaws in his plan, that intelligence cannot be controlled, that plants cannot be reasoned with, and that the only way his plant beast will flourish is if he uses a recently deceased corpse for the substrate. And a little blurb says an extraordinary tale of family, fungus, and more than a dash of bloody revenge from an exciting new voice in queer horror. I'm so excited. I cannot wait to get to this book. And this book is also going to be part of a vlog that I'll be doing sometime this summer too. So keep keep on the watch for that. And the last two books I am going to talk about are from the American Master of Horror himself, Stephen King. So the first one I'm talking about is his newest release. You Like It Darker. And I am a this far in, you can maybe see my bookmark here. I've read I think it's the first 3 stories so far. I'm not really going to talk about them because that'll be in a later extensive kind of review and wrap up video. No, I've read 4 stories. Two Talented Bastards, The Fifth Step, Willie the Weirdo, and Danny Coughlin's Bad Dream. And I'll give you the synopsis of You Like It Darker. You like it darker? Fine, so do I, writes Stephen King in the afterword to this magnificent new collection of 12 stories that delve into the darker part of life, both metaphorical and literal. King has, for half a century, been a master of the form, and these stories about fate, mortality, luck, and the folds in reality where anything can happen are as rich and riveting as his novels, both weighty in theme and a huge pleasure to read. King writes to feel the exhilaration of leaving ordinary day to day life behind. And in You Like It Darker, readers will feel that exhilaration too, again and again. And then it goes on to talk specifically about some of the stories, but I'm going to skip over that and get to the final paragraph in the synopsis, which states King's ability to surprise, amaze, and bring us both terror and solace remains unsurpassed. Each of these stories holds its own thrills, joys, and mysteries. Each feels iconic. You like it darker? You got it. Again, there's a lot I want to say, even about the 4 stories I've read so far, but I am saving that. And the last book I want to talk about is an older work of Stephen King's, one that I had read before, but revisited recently through audio. And I didn't have my own physical copy of it, but I had to get it. And that is Different Seasons. So this one contains a lot of stories that you are probably familiar with, and a story that you may not be familiar with. So let me give you the seasonal kind of archetypes for each of these stories. So we have Hope Springs Eternal, which is the little introduction for Rita Hayworth and the Shawshank Redemption. We have Summer of Corruption for Apt Pupil, Fall from Innocence for The Body, and then A Winter's Tale with The Breathing Method. Now, the breathing method is actually my favorite out of the 4 stories. And I don't want to say a whole lot about the breathing method right now because I am currently doing research into that story, and some of its connections to other King stories, as well as to some works by other authors. So that's something that I'm in the process of doing a deep dive into. And even though this is one of his older collections, I will go ahead and read the synopsis for you. From one of the greatest short story writers of all time comes this spellbinding collection of 4 novellas bound together by the changing of seasons, each taking on the theme of a journey with strikingly different tones and characters, including Rita Hayworth and Shawshank Redemption. An unjustly imprisoned convict seeks a strange and startling revenge, the basis for the modern classic film The Shawshank Redemption. Apt People, the inspiration for the harrowing film about a top high school student and his obsession with the dark and deadly past of an older local. The Body, 4 rambunctious young boys plunge through the facade of a small town and come face to face with life, death, and intimations of their own mortality. The story that became the movie Stand By Me. And The Breathing Method, a disgraced woman is determined to triumph over the natural order of things in order to save her child. So that is my recent book haul. The first book haul I've done for my channel. If you like book hauls and you want to see more, let me know. Um, Otherwise, I will see you in my next video. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know what books you have received or purchased recently. And I would really appreciate it if you would hit that like button, subscribe, and hit that bell so you won't miss any videos that I have coming out later. Bye.